Welcome back to Emily's Outlet, the place where I say out loud what most people are only thinking. I'm your host, Emily. No filter, no performance, just real talk. If you're new here, hi, I'm glad you found me. If you've been rocking with me, thank you. Seriously, it means everything. Today's episode, we're talking about the emotionally gymnastics of being a woman who genuinely cares about people but also has a limit. We're talking about the nice girl, the sharp girl, and why you actually need both. Let's get into it. Okay, so I almost didn't record this week. I was tired, like a soul tired. But then I thought, no, this is exactly what the podcast is for. So pull up because we're going in today. This week, where do I even start? Contracts, chasing signatures, fixing problems that should not have been problems, staying professional while internally, I was crashing out like a full on behind the smile, eye twitching, counting to 10, crashing out. At some point this week, I was functioning as a therapist, a negotiator, a translator, a problem solver, an emotional support system, and was one inconvenience away from becoming the villain in somebody else's story. And the thing is, nobody sees that. People see the polished version, the professionalism, the smile, the good morning, everyone happy Friday energy. They don't see the emotional gymnastics happening behind the curtain. But I handled it. Maybe not perfectly, maybe with a little attitude, maybe with some silent rage and a jaw so tight my dentist is going to have notes at my next appointment, but I handled it. I'm here to tell you that counts for something. Here's the thing that keeps coming up for me this week, and I want to talk about it because I know I'm not alone in this. When things fall apart, deals, plans, relationships, whatever you invest yourself into, the first instinct is to take it personal because you put in the time, the energy, the emotion, the hope. And when it doesn't work out, it feels like a verdict on you. But this week reminded me not every closed door is a punishment. Some doors are protections. Some endings aren't failures, they're course corrections. Things collapse because they were built on stress or force or fear or people trying to make something work that was never meant to work. And that's hard to accept in the moment. I know, because in the moment, it just feels like loss. But I learned, and I'm still learning, that rejection is often redirection. Not always immediately, not always obviously, but eventually you look back and you think, oh, that falling apart was actually me being steered somewhere better. So if something fell apart for you this week, sit with it, but don't stay there. It might be protection wearing a really ugly disguise. Okay, so while all of this was happening, the chaos, the contracts, the emotional labor, I kept coming back to this book I've been sitting with called Undoing Yourself by Christopher Hyatt. And if you haven't heard it, here's the basic idea it's about dismantling the automatic version of yourself, the masks, the roles, the patterns you learn to survive environments that demand a version of you that you maybe don't even want to be anymore. And it hit different this week because I started asking myself, how much of my niceness is actually conditioning? Like, was I taught to be agreeable because it was safe? Because it kept the peace, because it made me easier to be around. And on the flip side, when the sharpness comes out, when the boundaries come up with the no finally lands, Is that the real me, or is that the armor I built to protect myself after being soft for too long? The honest answer is both, and neither, which sounds confusing, but stick with me. Because what Hyatt is really pointing at is most of us are running on autopilot. We're reacting from old scripts instead of choosing from who we actually are right now. So this week, when I felt that tension, the push and the pull between being understanding and being done, I started asking different questions. Not how do I keep everyone comfortable, but do I actually want to say yes right now? Am I over explaining because I owe someone an explanation or because I'm afraid of how they will react if I don't? Do I actually owe everyone unlimited access to me? And the answer this week, honestly, was absolutely not. So here is what I came to this week. And this is the part I really want you to hear. I can be compassionate without emotionally volunteering myself for chaos. I can be professional without abandoning my own feelings in the process. I can care about people without carrying everybody. And I can stop shrinking myself just to maintain the image of being easy to deal with. Because balance isn't becoming emotionless. It's not shutting everything down and going cold. Balance is learning when softness is the right response and when your boundaries need to speak louder than your desires to keep the peace. My softness heals people, but my sharpness protects me. And both of those versions of me deserve respect. I used to think I had to choose be the nice one or be the difficult one, be the peacekeeper or be the problem. But that's false choice. The truth is, the attitude that people sometimes complain about in women is usually a woman who finally decides to choose herself instead of constantly choosing comfort for everyone else. That's not a character flaw, that's growth. So, yeah, this week stretched me emotionally, mentally, professionally, but it also showed me something I'm not who I was, the old me would have exploded and said something I couldn't take back. Even the older me would have stayed completely silent and let the resentment build until it poisoned everything. This version of me, she's learning how to speak clearly without blowing up, without shutting down, without abandoning herself just to keep everyone else comfortable. And honesty, that feels like healing. Not the pretty aesthetic kind of healing, the put on the vision board, the real kind, the kind that happens in the middle of a hard week, in the tension between who you used to be and who you are becoming. That's where the growth actually lives. All right. That's Emily's outlet for this week. If this episode hit, share it with someone who needed to hear it. Leave a review if you've been listening for a while and haven't yet. It genuinely helps more people find the show. And I want to hear from you. What version of yourself showed up this week? The soft one, the sharp one, both? Come find me and let me know. I'll be back next week. Until then, protect your energy, honor your limits, and remember, you don't have to choose between being kind and being real. You can be both. You are both. I'm Emily's Outlet, and I'm out.